wants a drink in their hand, have one now. Very good.
Well, my name is A.J. Palmgren, and I am Bruce and Barb's cousin, and that makes me the cousin of Dennis, Luke, and Trav, and many others here. Many of you know me, some do not, and that's okay, but I was very honored when Barb asked me to say a few words and give the eulogy for Luke this evening. Again, thank you all for being here. You all showing up in this massive amount of love and support is so meaningful to all of us right now, and we thank you for that. As I mentioned, Luke was my cousin. I knew him most of his life, particularly from a teenager on into his adult years. And as I thought deeply about what to share today, this came to me very prominently. Luke was always seeking other realms, other dimensions, other experiences. And early in the morning, this January 19th, he quietly and peacefully slipped into one of those realms, shocking every one of us. All of us here knew Luke in different ways, and yet in similar ways. And yet here, we all stand as a group of people who love Luke. Luke was an avid carpenter and worked for his Uncle Scott for quite a few years on many amazing projects. Bruce and Barb actually named him after Scott, Lucas Scott Zelmer. So it seemed that their close relationship was destined in some way from day one. Luke really liked working with his hands, and he was very good at it. He also really enjoyed fabricating and fixing things for others, which was really no surprise, because if you knew Luke, you knew that he had a kind heart, a very kind heart. At some point in recent years, Luke discovered his passion for grilling and smoking meat and sharing it with everyone around him. And only a year or so ago, Luke bought this fantastic smoker that's right back there, going full steam ahead or full smoke ahead as the case may be, smoking some meat for all of us right now. And if Luke were still physically with us right now, he'd be running that smoker right now and loving every minute of it, because Luke loved to share the things he could because of his kind heart. And what he really loved doing was helping everyone around him, especially, have a good time. But today, Luke's amazing friend Dusty, where are you, Dusty? Luke's amazing friend Dusty is running that smoker right now for all of us. And in a very special way, it seems that, Dusty, you are reminding us all of Luke's kind heart. Because if we were here for any other circumstances and Luke were here, he'd be doing what you're doing. Thank you. That's right. Luke loved to travel when he could, particularly with his family and some on his own. He loved Myrtle Beach, being in and hiking in the mountains of Tennessee. And Luke spent a couple of months in Hawaii, working on a friend's house there, taking of his own time and working on a friend's house there, because Luke had a kind heart. Now, let's make no mistake. If you have an opportunity to spend a month or two in Hawaii, you're going to take it. But the truth is, he really did have a kind heart, and he was giving of himself in a way that was something that he was always willing to do. While he was on that trip in Hawaii, he went on an amazing hiking trail that was supposed to be closed to the public. But in his own persistent way, he convinced one of the caretakers of that area to allow him to hike that trail. The name of the trail was Stairway to Heaven. In a way, it almost seems as if it could have been a foreshadowing of another hike that none of us knew Luke was going to take this year. On the real stairway to heaven. Luke always had a way of living his life that was truly unforgettable. Luke knew how to live in the moment. And let's face it, Luke knew how to party. And boy, did he, yeah, that's right, he sure did. Luke knew how to party, and he knew how to party hard. Luke lived for something beyond the day-to-day mundane experience. And during his years here with us, he somehow found a way to escape that mundane to an extent beyond anyone I've ever known. Yes, in his own special way, Luke knew how to celebrate his life here on earth to the fullest. He partied as long and as hard as his physical body would allow him to, and he found ways to escape. Maybe because he always knew that there was more beyond this physical realm for him to explore. Luke and I never really had a lot of long conversations, but the few we had were very deep, and now very especially meaningful to me. Mostly because I myself have spent so many years of my life traveling, searching, exploring. Maybe not exploring other realms quite in the same manner that Luke did, but I was searching nonetheless. It seems that Luke and I were both curious about other realms, what lies beyond, what comes after this physical life here on earth. And because of this, many of the conversations I had with Luke were of a spiritual nature. We talked several times about what may come after this life, because I too have always searched deeply for what lies beyond. Luke was always open to what I had to say, and in those moments, he shared about how he knew that he was on his own journey. He was on his own search, and that he knew he had to go on that journey and that search his own way. And in those conversations, we understood each other, because in many ways we were talking about the same thing, the same kind of journey, the same kind of exploration. A chunk of my conversations with Luke involved listening to the lyrics from songs of the music that he liked.
Bands that are very well displayed here in these wonderful quilts.
Now, from my perspective, most of the music that Luke loved was very dark in nature, and quite frankly, a bit difficult for me to listen to. And yet, within those songs were lyrics about the exploration of other realms and what lies beyond, other perspectives, other experiences. And that's what we spent time talking about. Luke always wore the t-shirts from the bands and the groups that he loved to listen to and the concerts that he went to.
And Barb's done a wonderful job just in the last few months of creating these three amazing quilts from all of Luke's band's t-shirts. They're really quite amazing to see.
One of the many bands on those quilts is a band called Slipknot. And as I took some time and I looked through some of the dark and deep lyrics of their songs, I found some that seem particularly relevant right now. A mirror only works if you open your eyes. But even then, you have to understand what's inside. The easiest part is always the hardest to see. Oh yes, Luke was searching. These lyrics actually remind me of a verse in the Bible, which is 1 Corinthians 13:12, which says, "For now, we see in a mirror dimly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, but then I shall know fully, even as I have been fully known. To me, this verse is always spoken of how we can try to search for understanding on this side, here on earth, but never can clearly see, we never can see clearly enough to fully understand what our journey on earth here really is all about. But when we cross over into the afterlife and into eternity, then we will fully know what this journey was and is all about. Then we shall understand. Today, Luke now understands. And from his vantage point, he sees clearly. Luke spent a lot of his time with computer role-playing games, in particular, Gemstone. I guess in retrospect, these games were perfect for Luke, in particular because they're all about exploring other realms and living out adventures in those realms. Sometimes it almost seems like those games were made just for him, just for his journey. Now I know that right now we're doing some live stream to Discord and YouTube, and on one of those Discord channels or servers, we have a group of people who have participated in the Gemstone game for a long time. Thank you for being here today. Your presence is so welcome, even though we can't physically see you. And for those of you who don't know, Luke's character in the game Gemstone was Drakor. I remember watching Luke experience the Gemstone game as Drakor right here in the living room. And late at night, for hours and hours. And while he was playing, we would chat. And it was clear to me that while I watched him experience this, while I watched him experience playing the game of Gemstone, that a part of him was really actually there inside the game. I don't know how to explain that, but I distinctly had that sense. I never experienced Gemstone firsthand, but I saw the amount of enjoyment that Luke got out of experiencing that world. So all of you here today on Discord who, having roles within Gemstone that interacted with and built friendships with Drakor within the game, all of you represent one of the realms that Luke loved to escape into, to live in, to have adventures in. And in a way, I can't help but wonder if Luke just might be carrying on parts of those very adventures within otherworldly realms, within the otherworldly realms that Luke now fully lives in. And so I want to thank all of you for being here and for, in part, bringing to life for all of us here some of that experience that Luke had in Gemstone. And thank you for giving him a legacy that can actually live on even in that realm. So that was Luke, a very kind-hearted soul, always exploring, always searching, far more inwardly than outwardly. And now I truly believe, having been released from the confines of his physical body, Luke really is truly free. Free to explore in absolute fullness the realms beyond the here and now. The realms he was always trying to search, explore, and experience here in this life. So let us raise a glass to you, Luke. And from the freedom of the realms in which you now live and experience, a part of you lives on in us all. We love you, Luke. Barb, what would you like to do now?
Let the party begin. Or
Yep.
does Reno want to say something?
If anyone would like to share anything following this right now about Luke, any words, I'd like to welcome you to do so.
Or later. They can do
Or later. And Rita, are you good?
Let's eat.
Well then, in true Luke fashion, let the party begin. We'll turn up the music and let's eat. Thanks for being here. Enjoy.
That was good.
Good job.
That was good.
Thank you.